Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spoonful podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mario Piacquadio. Joining me today, cracking into Slim Jims, Mr. Emmett Watkins Jr.
Hi, how's it going? I've realized I haven't actually cracked into a Slim Jim in over a decade.
Hey, man.
So, you got some beef jerky? Yeah, I'll crack into that, but maybe not a Slim Jim. I'm over the greasy stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I had a Slim Jim, if I got to be totally honest with you. I know my mom was
Yeah.
obsessed with them for a hot minute when we first moved into America, and I don't think I've touched them since. By the way, today, let's see, a week ago today was my 8th year anniversary of moving to America.
Ah, hey, there you go. How's it been? The best years of your life yet or not?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now I know why America's the best country in the world.
Oh boy. How many insurrections they have in South America?
Not enough. Not
Uh,
enough. Oh man.
you could say that for many countries actually and be
Yeah.
completely honest.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No,
Oh boy.
it's been a ride. It's been a wild
Mhm.
ride. But I feel like
Yeah.
I'm like really suckling the teat of America and getting the good juice now that going to school and whatnot. I'm like, yes, here we are. Even though
There you go.
I'm 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 in debt. But that's it. What's more
Welcome
American
to
than that?
America.
What's more
Yep.
American than that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like we got governors that are in debt now that are being elected. And just like, oh, I got fucking student loans. So yeah, welcome to the country. We're all defined by what we owe someone bigger than us that shouldn't exist. Anyway, there's fun things that have also happened. How was your how's your week, your last couple weeks been since we've talked? I know it was Mr. Beyonce time for me, but you've done
Yeah.
some stuff too.
I've done a few things. Yeah, when we recorded our last couple episodes, I was in my summer break in between my summer and fall semesters of school. I have now started the fall semester, and this semester is like the toughest one I've done yet. Like schedule wise, I'm the busiest I've been. It's been 1 week, and I'm already feeling it, right? And I'm taking the
Mm,
toughest courses, so it's a good test to what's to come, right? What I
yes.
what I
Yes.
what I figured when I started kind of signing up for it was if I'm planning on going to medical school, I may as well give myself a couple hard semesters and really get that feeling, you know?
Mm-hmm. Get that knocked out as soon as possible. Yeah, I fully understand that. Well, hey, it's good to test yourself early so you can kind of figure out what that workload looks like
Yeah.
before it balloons on you and it comes as a surprise. So
Exactly. It's a
yeah,
strategic, I don't really need to make it this hard for myself right now, but may as well give myself some practice.
indeed, indeed, I feel that. So yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So
Yeah.
so does that mean you're taking like a lot of science classes right now? Is
Oh
that
yeah.
the direction?
Oh, big time. So
Oof.
basically, I got all of my non-science classes out of the way. The rest of my associates and my bachelor's and basically the rest of my academic career is just science. The only
Uh,
non-science course I'm taking this semester is an online thing that's art appreciation. Other than that, I'm taking biology, calculus, chemistry, pretty much the rest of the way, and physics in there. So
hey. Well, hey, the good news is half of what we do on the show is already art appreciation, including maybe this episode. So you're
we're
already
in.
gonna ace that.
We're
I can
in.
tell you that.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. No, we're in.
And,
But before we get into it, right? I've been
mhm.
having this internal debate, and I want to talk to you
Ooh,
about it, Emmett.
ooh, I'm ready for it. Let's go.
Because as you know, going through school, part-time worker now, I'm making less money. So I have to be more strategic when it comes to what
Mm,
video games I'm playing, right? And what video games I'm buying and all that. I still haven't beat Zelda. I was playing Zelda right before we started recording. I'm getting there, but still I'm 85
slowly but
hours
surely.
in and I'm really not there yet, right? But the thing is,
Respect.
I wanted to play Armored Core 6. That was a game that I was very excited for and I still am very excited for. Never was able to buy it cuz just straight up
Mm,
don't have the money. Wasn't able to buy Final Fantasy 16 either. And I started thinking more and more and more. My video game time is more limited than ever recently, right?
absolutely.
And the one video game, well, actually, there's two video games coming up that I'm like very much so
Needs to happen.
anticipating. needs that. Yeah,
Mhm.
like I'm like, no matter what, I'm getting these games. One of them is Spider-Man 2, which I'm gonna pay $70 for, and I'm gonna make time for. And thankfully,
Bingo.
Spider-Man game's a game that you can make time for that, right? Because it's like a what, like a
Absolutely.
30-hour game at the top, right? Like at the most, if you're spending 30
Mhm.
hours on that.
It might be closer 30 hours to platinum, to be honest with you. So,
Exactly,
like,
exactly.
mhm, you
So
can really run through that in a weekend if you
it
want to.
exactly. So that one, I'm like, I can figure it out by then and just like really marathon the shit out of Spider-Man, and I'm not worried about it. But the other game that I can't wait for is a game that I have decided that with my current state of how much video games I can play, if this game is as good as I hope it is and as good as I want it to be,
Mm.
this will pretty much be what I'm gonna play the rest of the year. In sort of hand to hand with Zelda as I beat that. And that is
Oh, I know
Starfield.
where we're going. Yep, I knew that's where it was heading.
I
Ooh,
can't stop thinking about this game, right? Like I cannot wait. I realized that it's actually coming out a day earlier than like the release date because it comes out that night at like 8 p.m.
that's true.
Yeah,
Holy
so
shit, that is
instead
true.
of having to wait until 3 in the morning on the 6th, 8 p.m. on the 5th, game's out, which is so beautiful, right? Thank you so much for that.
Amen to
That
that.
Wednesday, I don't have a lab, right? I'm scheduled to do bio lab, but because it's Labor Day week, we're not having labs that week,
Hell
which I'm
yeah.
happy about. And then I had this realization, Emmett, and this is where I need your help. Because
Mhm.
as you know, if you have the premium edition, you get to play it 5 days early. You get to play the 31st.
Ah.
I have Xbox Game
Mm,
Pass, and the premium edition is $35 to upgrade, right? And you get
mhm.
the expansion that's going to come out in 2024. And the one thing that really got me going is not this. That would be this Thursday, right? This Thursday we're recording this Sunday the 27th. So this Thursday
Indeed.
night, I would be able to play this game. Emmett, what is happening next Monday? Not tomorrow. Next Monday.
Next Monday. So on the 4th of September. What comes out on the 4th of September? I
There's
have
nothing
no
coming
idea.
out. There's nothing coming out, but
Hmm.
it's Labor Day,
Wait.
and I'm not
Oh,
working on Labor Day.
oh, you son of a gun. Huh. So the
And
question is, spend
mhm.
money, play during Labor Day. Don't spend money, fit it in some other time.
Well, I wouldn't be able to play it during Labor Day because it comes out after, right? Like
Hmm.
and if I'm really going to commit
Hmm.
to Starfield, right? Starfield, a gigantic game. I don't think I'm going to be able to get that beat because I barely have video game time. I have faith that with my current amount of time that I can, by the time that I'm done with Starfield, by the time that I'm satisfied by Starfield, the expansion that I would get by buying the premium will probably be out or soon to come out. So I can
Hmm.
just keep going and just make Starfield my game for the next while.
That's like a year and a half of Starfield at that point, effectively.
But you got to think
Hmm.
about it, that's like 100+ hour game, and my gaming time is very short. I don't have a lot of gaming time or gaming budget. So if I just focus on Starfield, that can just be my thing.
Huh. Here's what I'm gonna say on that. Here's what I'm gonna say. I think even though I made this realization somewhat recently, actually on the Welcome to the Thing podcast that I was on a couple days ago, which may or may not be out by the time you're listening to this. I think it's out like another day or two from now. Long story short, I like Bethesda RPGs a lot. I think
Mm-hmm.
what I think of an RPG is molded by my experiences with Fallout 3, Skyrim, games like those. So I love these games. I think it might serve you well to wait until reviews come out. Not that I think Starfield's going to be bad. It's more so that I think, you just might not know if it's all that in a bag of chips quite yet. But the embargo, I'm pretty sure, is that Thursday
Yeah,
of
and
that
it
opening.
would be that
Hmm.
Thursday. That would be earlier that Thursday, and the game would
Yes.
unlock at 8 p.m.
Yes. So I say, look at that day, see reviews, see what people are saying, and then that's plenty of time to before Labor Day even comes through to make your purchasing decision, because I do think that's compelling. You're not spending a whole 60. You're not even spending like 40 or 50. It's like
Exactly.
35. And
35
plus you're getting
is
something for it down the road.
yeah, I'm buying into the expansion. I'm putting all my chips in, right? I'm saying Todd
Mm.
Howard, take me and take me on a journey, baby boy, through the stars.
I say I say that might be worth it, just for the fact that you can get in a lot of time up front, and then you're going to be playing that expansion. If the reviews come out and you just know, okay, this is going to be my shit for a long time, I think that's going to be worth it. The thing that makes me hesitant is it makes complete sense to put all your time into one or two games. I am trying to stop myself from doing that because I want to play so many things, but
See,
I won't have time to beat any of them is the problem.
that's the beauty of I think I didn't do this on purpose, but I think it was very, very beautiful for me to do this. Remember, obviously last year I fucking burned through games, right? I beat 41 games
Hmm.
last year. So
Absolutely.
having lived that experience last year and now being in a totally different spot where I'm much more constricted for time, I'm okay right now just playing one game. I've been playing only Zelda for months and it's been great. It's been fine. I'm cool with that. And
Mm-hmm.
Starfield, if I'm going to decide to play one game, I could play Baldur's Gate 3, I guess, technically, because that does the same thing. But if there's one game that I want to put all my chips in, Starfield seems like a good candidate, man. And for Baldur's Gate 3, I'll point it out. I haven't played it, but Kimena and I have always talked about wanting to play D&D together because she's played D&D before. And I was
Huh.
like, there's this game. And I didn't know it was split screen co-op until recently. I'm like, we can play it on the PC and we can just
Bingo.
have our own digital little D&D campaign.
I like it. I like that idea a lot. That sounds like the move. Yeah, honestly, I think the plan seems sound. It's not that
Thank you.
much more money you're paying, and it's not like it's gonna ever leave Game Pass, and then you got to worry about buying the full game. They bought that. They're keeping that on Game Pass forever.
100%.
So I think it's financially sound. I
Thank you.
think go for it. I think go for it. Though you won't get to play Lords of Shadow when that comes out. Actually, I don't know if Lords of Shadow isn't even the name of the game. What is it? Lords of the Fallen.
Lords of
I'm
the
stupid.
Fallen.
Let me.
Yeah. Hey, man. Shadow of War,
Uh,
Middle Earth, you're fine. You're good.
there's too many games with the same 17 adjectives.
Did
Good
you ever
lord.
beat Ragnarok? I forget.
I did beat Ragnarok. I beat it
Nice.
a couple months ago, like
Nice.
I don't know, April, maybe May.
Hey,
It took me way too long,
sick.
but I did it eventually. But
Wait a
yeah,
minute. Ragnarok came out last year, right? Or am I losing my fucking
it
mind?
did. It
Okay.
did. It
Cool.
didn't take me a whole year, goddamn it.
Hey,
Don't try me.
good shit, man. Look at you.
Uh but yeah, look, dude, it's already bad for this year. Like literally right next to me on this table, I have Dead Space, I have
Oh,
Forspoken, both of which I picked
I
up on
gave up
sale
on
at
so many games, dude. I was like, yeah, Resident Evil 4 remake. I'll play. I'll play Dead Space remake. I'll play Final Fantasy 16. I'll play
mhm.
Armored Core, and I'm like, I can't. Armored Core annoys me because it's a shorter game than I thought it would be. It's like a 20-hour game, and I'm like, God damn it, I
You could have
keep
gone for
playing
it.
that, but
Eh.
money.
Hey, you know what that means? That means it'll be cheaper faster. And you can just come around to it from the sales. So I'm
Yes,
right there with you on that. I'm
yes.
doing the same thing for RE4. I'm waiting for that 30. Every time Wario64 tweets out, it's $30 at GameFly. I'm like, oh, and then it's already sold out. So
Oh,
one
Resident Evil
day,
games go on sale like it's fucking nothing, man. Every like 2 minutes,
absolutely.
I get notices that all the Resident Evil games are like $10.
Mhm.
Don't worry, it'll get there.
Yeah, they had an same Humble Bundle where you could buy Resident Evil 1 through 8 for like $35.
Sick,
It
sick.
was
Hell
insane.
yeah.
Yeah, with a lot of side ones too. But anywho, yeah, there's a lot of games to play, but there's a lot of games in the past as well. Which
Mm.
is kind of, if I can tiptoe into the topic, what I wanted to talk about a little bit here. Um, this was spurred on by recent events that I'll discuss, but I'm curious, what is the oldest media that you consider yourself like a fan of? And yeah, we're of course talking about games right now, but we can get movies up in here. We can get, TV, music, whatever you really want. And what it's spurred by is this Quake 2 remaster that came out recently.
Oh,
From I think QuakeCon they announced it. So, old school id Software, they made the original game, but Night Dive Studios is responsible for this remaster, re-release, however you want to call it. And it's making me realize because folks know, or if you've been listening to the show a lot or just listen to me a lot, you know I love shooters. I love a good first-person shooter. It's like one of my favorite genres. Been playing a lot of them lately. Been playing a lot of Warzone lately with some friends. A lot of Turbo Overkill, which is a new indie shooter that came out. But Quake 2 is surprising me because I think of these older games as being so archaic and just not really having that fun factor, that accessibility that I'm kind of used to as someone who one of the first shooters I played was like Modern Warfare 2. So like that's my baseline.
Yeah, that's a it's a pretty
So
high bar.
yeah, it's a high bar, but it's also like there's certain design things in that game
Totally.
that if another game doesn't have it at least a little bit in common, it's foreign to me. So, it took me a while to get used to things like, oh, so I don't have to reload. Oh, so I get the runway faster. Oh, I don't have to aim down sights. Things like that. Those types of aspects.
That's honestly
But mhm,
very, very, very quick side note. I
please.
have a very similar history with Halo. Very
Mm.
short history with Halo is what I meant to say. Basically, the only Halo I've ever played is Reach that I played back when I was streaming. Um, and Halo always has fucking felt super weird to me because I'm so used to aiming down the sights.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just weird.
I had
And I know
to
I played Counter Strike as a kid, but I don't know. I was young enough that like it didn't stick to my muscle memory. So whenever I play Halo, it just doesn't feel right.
hmm I feel that. It's one of those things where I guess I kind of translate my gaming experiences to what's the first stuff I did on a controller.
Mm.
When I don't realize I played a lot of games away from a controller before I even had a PS3 or
Oh
really got
yeah.
heavy into PS2 or anything like that. Because I even just now I was like, oh yeah, Modern Warfare 2. That's one of my first shooters I remember playing. I played like dozens of hours of Quake Live on my PC because it was free and I had nothing else to do. So I guess it's making sense that I'm enjoying Quake 2. And I always thought, man, I play all these games. So many of my favorite games are like within the last 2 decades or so. I can't tell you a game that I like fall in love with that came out before like 2000. And so I'm sitting here like, damn, it just nagged at me for a little while, but I'm loving Quake 2. Quake 2 seems to be that game. Quake 1 remaster came out not too long ago, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. Not as much as Quake 2, but Quake 2 is really killing it. And then even, what is the game? I think Dynamite Cop, the Dreamcast game,
Okay.
that was our arcade game from way back in my childhood that I always loved. Found out I could get it on my Steam Deck. I had been playing that not too long ago. That game rules too. So, yeah, I'm just curious. Are there any, I guess we'll stick with games for now. What old ass games? What's the oldest game you can think of that you're like, yeah, that shit hits.
Other than
We'll see how
like
far back we can go.
I feel like there's a few that are not obvious ones, but like no brainers to a degree, right? Like if I say Mario 3, it's like, well, yeah, Mario 3 is fucking awesome, right? And
There
and
you
and,
go.
and you, when I think of old, like I while you were talking, I at one point I looked up the release date for Super Mario Sunshine because that's not a game that
Mm,
people would qualify as like, oh, that's such an old game. But when that game came out, I was 4 years old.
yeah, that's
So
ancient
to
history as far as
me,
we're concerned.
Super Mario Sunshine is a very old game, right? But obviously, to me, to the majority of people, it might not be. The one that came to mind, even when you first brought this up, is a game that I didn't play as a kid. I played as an adult
Mm.
because it was a game that I've always heard is like as one of the best, older SNES era games, and it has aged completely beautifully. Super Metroid is a masterpiece, man.
Ah, yeah,
I played
that is
Super
real.
Metroid on my Switch on Nintendo Switch Online back when I still had that, and I was like, "Oh, this game fucking sings!" It's incredible. It's also very cool as somebody who likes Metroidvanias a lot to see like, "Oh yeah, this is really what started a lot of this stuff." But Super Metroid is excellent, man. Like it holds up. I mean, people know it, right? It's a masterpiece for a reason. But yeah, Super Metroid is one of the first things that came up where that's a that's a game that came out way before I was born, and yeah, it's fantastic, man. It's Super Metroid is as good as any modern game.
Mm. You know what? You fucked me up because a the only game that I can say similarly that I haven't played all the way through, but I remember playing like 2 or 3 hours back on my Vita back in the day. Symphony of the Night, Castlevania. I was surprised how well that game
Held up.
felt contemporary when I played
I
it.
started it forever ago on Vita too, and I never kept picked it back up. But I really want to because I've heard so many. This is an interesting one. So many game devs that I like respect and love say that their favorite game of all time is Symphony of the Night, and I've heard it enough times where I'm like, man,
Hmm.
I gotta fucking play that game.
Yep. I'm in the same exact boat to the point where like I already had it, the PlayStation 1 Classic on PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, and I would say backwards compatible on PlayStation 5, but it hasn't happened yet, so
Eh,
come on now. Um, but I already have it there. I picked up the Castlevania Advance Collection on PlayStation 4 because in my head I'm like, I want trophies for it. Maybe that'll be a motivation. Still haven't touched it. So it's one of those where it's like there's a lot of these older games that I've been just accruing where I'm just like, one day I'm gonna get around to it, and one day I'm gonna be finally just it's gonna shower over me what people were talking about. Same thing for I haven't bought it, but at some point it's gonna be in my face and I'm gonna have to try it out finally. That Metal Gear Solid collection is coming out in October. Speaking of all the games coming out in
yeah.
October, I haven't the only Metal Gear Solid game I've beaten is Metal Gear Solid 4, which I know is
Oh.
crazy,
Oh.
but that's just how it happened.
Damn it. Metal Gear Solid is also one of those where I they had the Vita collection that I think came with like if you got the PS3 collection, it came with four and it had one and more games. For some reason, the Vita collection
Yeah.
had less. Um, obviously you can't run
I,
four. I understand that, but it also didn't include Metal Gear Solid One. Weird, whatever.
Well, it didn't have Peace Walker because that was a PSP game you could play backwards compatible on Vita.
Yeah,
And same thing for Metal Gear Solid 1, where you could play the PS1 Classic. So they
right.
said, fuck it, we're not porting
Exactly.
it.
So what I did is I didn't play Metal Gear Solid 1. Oh, it also came with the old like not NES, whatever the old ones were. I
Oh, yeah,
forget the
like the Metal Gear games
yeah,
that
the
aren't
Metal
solid.
Gear
Yeah.
games. I remember starting those and being like, okay, these are old games that didn't age that well. So but
Yeah.
but love Metal Gear Solid 2. Metal Gear Solid 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. And that's why I'm super excited slash terrified for that remake because I think it's legitimately one of the best
Mhm.
games ever made. That's a game that, especially if you play Substance, which is the version that took out the fixed camera angles for a third person view, and it just makes it way, way, way,
Hell
way,
yeah.
way kind of easier and more approachable and more modern. Game's fucking excellent, dude. That game's excellent. Peace Walker is very good too, but Peace Walker I was alive for. Metal Gear Solid 3, I was how young was I for that?
You probably were still alive. That was
I
like
was alive. I was alive.
2002?
Not for 2, yeah, 2 also is a PS2 game, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, damn. I was
Well,
alive for
Metal
that
Gear
one. I'm like,
Solid 1 I have played and it's good, but I don't like it as much as I do 2 or 3 cuz I think it
Mhm.
shows its age a bit more, but
Absolutely.
I was
I'm
6.
sure that is
I
the
was 6
case.
years old when Metal Gear Solid 3 came out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, hey, I feel like that's the good age to have something super impressionable. And honestly, kind of my pursuit of old media is kind of inspired by trying to find that awe because to this day, one of the most impressed that I've ever been with a video game is when I play Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh,
And
yes.
that game came out well before I was really super duper into games.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had a PS2, but it was more just the NBA Street Machine. I wasn't really playing a million games. But Shadow of the Colossus, I played that on the PS3 when it did the remaster there. That game blew me away, and still to this day, that is a game I think back to, and I'm like, oh, that game is just flawless in every way I really care about.
yeah,
So like that's why I'm sitting here like, okay, Dynamite Cop, I finally went back to. That game is everything I want. Quake 2, I never really thought about, oh man, I really want to play Quake 2. But I just tried out that remaster and now I'm hooked and I'm probably gonna play that to completion by the end of the year. So I'm just trying to find that high. And
yeah,
if we talk about other forms of media, like movies have absolutely done that because I've dug into crates when it comes to movies. I
totally.
have several movies from before I existed that I like.
Yeah,
I can definitely list off the top of those two.
movies are left definitely more approachable, right? It's like because
Hmm.
yeah, some things may be aged. You can see, cinematography that is aged that has gotten better, or dialogue that has gotten better over time. But there's something about the interactivity of games that there's a certain there are certain aspects of video games that if they are very poorly aged, it makes it very
Mm.
difficult to actually play. So unless you have a connection to it, another game I want to shout out, that couple that are obvious, Mario World. I said it, Mario 64. I play those games regularly, right? And they're like fucking great for what they are. Especially Mario
Bingo.
64. The more I look back at it being the first like game of its kind, how well it aged up, and obviously the camera isn't perfect and everything, but the fact that you can play that game now and have a blast is awesome. And Mega Man 2 specifically. I remember when the like Legacy
Mm.
Collection came out, that was a game that I had installed on my PS4, and I tried to play through all Mega Man games, and I think I beat 3 and maybe 4, but 2 is the one that I kept coming back to because 2 is really fucking good. 2 is the one that I have an order that I wanna play, and I know
Mm.
what stage to do and what order and to get to, and fuck Mega Man 2, the music in that game is insanely fucking good.
God. Yeah, you definitely dig in a little bit deeper than I'm willing to, because I remember trying to play like I think it was like Mega Man, one of the more modern ones, and by modern I mean they just made the old games in
Oh,
2013 on
yeah, I think
PS3.
those are 9 and 10 or 8 and 9, something like that.
9 is definitely one of them. I think that's the one I tried, and I think it was either free on PlayStation Plus or it was a demo or something, and I was just like, "Man, this is too rigid for me."
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
just not feeling it. So, yeah, that's the problem with some of these games, and, if you wanna compare it to film or music or anything else, it's there are some reasons where an old movie might be hard to watch because hey, they're using language we don't use anymore. They're showing certain viewpoints that we don't focus on anymore. Like they're just portraying ways in a way that feels dated. That's obvious, but that's because it's a passive medium, you can still make your way through it to a certain degree. With games, it can literally be in a different language that you do not understand
Yeah,
when it comes to how you control it, how does it work on the sticks, even if, all the actual art in the game is something that you can more or less understand.
totally.
So, like imagine playing Thief right now. That is a game where I look at that and I'm like I probably could not even get through that game. I probably
Yeah.
need so much more patience than even I have as someone with
That
too much
Yeah,
patience.
totally. Going back to Bethesda Game Studios, it reminds me of when Skyrim came out. My cousin and I were like obsessed with it. Right, that was a game that we played for years. Like we would play it over and over and over and over and over again. And Bethesda Game Studio
Mhm.
games, you can put fucking hundreds and hundreds of hours into. Right, that's kind of the whole point. Um, and I remember at some point we were like, "Oh, we're gonna go back and play all the Elder Scrolls, starting with Elder Scrolls One."
Oh, Christ.
Man,
Mm-mm-mm.
man, no.
I don't know why you would do that to yourself.
No, we started and we're like, never mind, let's do two. And we were like, oh no, no.
Good lord. Which one's is Daggerfall the Daggerfall's the second one? Good
Daggerfall's the
lord.
second one. And it's better than a lot better than one, but for two little boys who were like playing Skyrim, we were like, what the hell?
Dude, Arena came out the year I was born. Like, why are you I'm
Yeah.
almost 30. Like, let's not
Yeah. We tried.
let's not do all
We
that.
gave it a go, but that did not work out for us.
Look, I respect the fact that you tried, but Lord, I would have stopped as soon as I saw. It's less about the age of the game. It's more when I see like the interface. If I see gameplay of
Yeah.
that and it looks the way that I know Elder
Can't
Scrolls
do it.
Arena looks, I'm backing away slowly. That's why the only time I look at an old game and I'm like, ooh, I really want to try that. The furthest back I could possibly go is maybe PlayStation One, and then after that era, I'm like, it's getting a little
It's
bit
tough.
too,
It's
too,
tough.
yeah. Especially when you talk about PC games, because there are PC games that came out in like 1999 that I look at and I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm looking at here. Like, there's some games that are for me better to watch a video essay about than actually try to play for
Yeah.
20
Yeah.
hours.
I would say that the first accessible game like Elder Scrolls game is probably Morrowind. You can get away with playing Morrowind, but even then it's still Oblivion's really the one where like pretty fairly modern.
Hmm.
Fairly modern.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And plus, I feel like, not that there's any rumors or anything about this, but I feel like before Elder Scrolls, the next one comes out, we're probably gonna get like some type of remake or remaster of Morrowind in some way. I feel like
There's
that
a
has to be something on the docket.
there's a there's a fan sort of fan like a group that's doing, I believe it's with Oblivion, it's called Sky Oblivion, where they're putting Oblivion in
Mm,
Skyrim's engine, and I think they have plans to do Morrowind after that, but that there was also the RTX remake thing with Morrowind, and
mm.
there's like a whole thing
There's
with
a lot
like
of
with
stuff going
yeah,
on.
you can use AI cores in NVIDIA GPUs, and basically it like does a remaster for you without needing a remaster, and like it looks super fucking
Huh.
impressive, but yeah, whatever. That's a different
See,
conversation.
and I'll say this real quick before I move on to movies. I do think that yes, remasters and stuff will help the graphics look better, and yes, that is a part of a thing. That is an aspect that will get me to not knock the cushion off my mic.
Nice.
But it is an aspect that will get me more interested into playing a game. But also Doom, or not Doom, Quake 2, the remaster on that, it looks like Quake 2. They did not upgrade those models to any real super duper high definition degree. It's just slightly prettier to where it just looks a little less just blocky. And I'm still enjoying it like it's a new
Yeah,
game as far as I'm concerned.
totally. Well, that's
So,
yeah.
so mhm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So sometimes it just seems like it's less about, oh, is this game look right? Does it play right? And if it plays right, then I can get over whatever looks.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that's a funny thing of like a specific area, like a like era of gaming where I remember when Final Fantasy VII Remastered came out before we even knew about the remake.
Mm.
I tried to play it, and it's that PS1 era, that PS1 style of game is so brutal to look at because it just looks so bad. It's just all the polygons everywhere. I couldn't do
Yep.
it. And it's funny, you go to Final Fantasy VI, and that's a game that's fucking beautiful today, right? Like it's really pretty to
Hmm.
look at today.
Yeah. It's also that trade off. How do you want to be a technical innovator right now and then have your shit look dated decades from now? Because
Right.
that's what Final Fantasy VII did. They said,
For
"Oh, let's
sure.
do 3D. We
At the
can do it."
time, it was incredible.
Yeah, now everyone looks chibi and it just doesn't work for the story.
Nope.
Especially when you have that remake that just looks insane. But speaking of things that look insane, when I was thinking about this, yeah, I started from the game standpoint, but then I was like, all right, what like old movies do I like? Because most of this is informed by when I started college the first time, eons ago, like a decade ago at this point. When I was just sitting in my dorm room with nothing to do, I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna watch every single Best Picture winner until I get
Wow.
far enough back to where I never want to watch it again.
Okay. Wow.
And so
Interesting.
I got pretty far. I didn't watch every single year of Best Picture winner. At a certain point, I was like, all right, forget who won. I just want to watch like these old classics people talk about. And so going on my Letterbox account, because this is how I catalog every movie thing that I have, I was like, all right, let's put the ratings up towards the top and then just trim off anything more recent. So I just have it sorted by, the oldest to the newest. The oldest thing I have on here that has like at least 4 stars. Do you want to guess? I have one, two,
Well, you
three
said
movies that
you
are
were
on it.
watching classics, right? So I'm thinking of classics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like, okay, like
I
Gone with
feel
the
like you're gonna
Wind
go really
went
far.
by
Ooh.
me. Casablanca went by me, but that's what I'm saying. I'm like, how classic are you going?
Went
I'm
by
like,
you. You didn't exist to go by yet.
I
Oh
thought of
boy. But yeah.
like maybe some Hitchcock in there. Maybe you've seen some Hitchcock
Okay.
movies. I'm gonna say
That's mhm.
Vertigo by Alfred Hitchcock.
Ooh. You know what? You know what? You're wrong, but you're really close. You're right on the
Mm.
scent.
Was it
You're right on the
Psycho?
scent.
Was it Psycho?
It is Psycho. It is
Fuck!
absolutely Psycho.
God damn it! I was gonna guess Psycho. I'm like, no, that's too easy. Let's go Vertigo. Damn it.
No, when it comes to this, I'm a little bit easy. I'm a little bit easy.
Yeah.
Psycho is the oldest movie I have at least 4 stars on.
Sick.
Um, it's probably the oldest movie that I've like watched and was like, that was really fucking good. When you get, I mean, the only other movie like right next to it that within that same amount of time, or I guess not the same amount of time. I think this is 30 years earlier. Wizard of Oz, 21 years earlier. I like that movie a lot, but it's not quite the. That's a movie I have highly rated because it's a classic I've seen a million times as a kid, rather than me being like the first time I saw that, fucking mind blown. No, it's
It's
just a
just the
movie
Wizard
that's
of
been
Oz.
on.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like A Christmas Story or Baby Boy, just a movie I know by heart because I've seen it a million times on
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, when it comes to these older films, yeah, Hitchcock Psycho is a really good one for me. And then the other ones, the other two that I would say are really high up there for me. Tell me if you've one of these I don't know if you've heard of. The other
Okay.
one I'm pretty sure you've probably heard of.
Okay.
Um have you ever heard of so these two movies, Suspiria
Yes.
and The Graduate?
Not The Graduate. Yes,
Ooh.
Suspiria.
All right, I figured you know about Suspiria. So for folks who don't know Suspiria, long story short, it's really outside of the element of the type of shit that I watch. It is a horror movie from the 70s. I think it's directed by I think it's like a French movie.
Italian,
I,
Dario Argento. So
that's
this
it.
is from like the height of Italian filmmaking, right? Like all the westerns were Italian. That's
Yeah.
fun fact. That's why they're
The
called
new
spaghetti
wave.
westerns. They're called spaghetti westerns because
Hmm.
there was like a very big era of film where Italians were fucking dominating, and they did westerns and horror
Hell
movies. And
yeah.
there's a Suspiria remake that came out in 2018. That's apparently very good too.
Hmm. Yeah, what got me interested in watching this, I believe, is that remake and the discourse about, oh, this remake takes out all the color. It looks so drab in comparison. And I was like, what does the original movie look like? Then I looked it up and I was like, oh, fuck. There's like just like there's blood in this movie. It's like the
Oh yeah.
brightest red you've ever seen. So it's like, all right, this looks like kind of trippy in a weird way. And I don't know what convinced me to watch it just so it was such a random thing. I was meeting up with a friend for like a concert or something. Actually, no, I was meeting up with my friend Andy. We were going to see Mega 64. They were in Atlanta doing some like live show. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna meet you up. But before that, I'm gonna watch Spiria in the middle of the day for no reason. I watched it and then I was like, yo, that movie was good. And that's all I could talk about when I went there.
Yeah. Yeah, Suspiria
So yes.
I saw it
Mhm.
when I was very young, which is not the kind of movie you should see when you're very young, but
God no.
I'm a child of the internet. I saw many things I wasn't supposed to growing up. Uh
I'm also a child of the internet. I'm also a coward. So
Fair. No, my cousin and I
there you go.
were like the kids who were like, let's look up the most fucked up shit we could find, and that was us.
Oh
That was
no.
us.
How many
The
cups and girls?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. We had a site about it.
Oh
We had a
no.
whole thing.
No.
Yep. No, don't worry about it. Um, very quick side note.
Oh
I
Lord.
appreciate that the remake was also by an Italian director. I appreciate that as a fellow Italian.
Oh,
I
that is
appreciate that. I
really neat.
respect that. So I was looking up Suspiria because I wanted to get the name of the director right when you were mentioning it. I did get right. But that set me down a thought that I had. Right, Suspiria came out in 1977, and
Hmm.
it's like such an obvious one, right? But I do still think it's worth mentioning how crazy Star Wars is, man. Like the fact that Star Wars
Yeah.
is a movie that you can sit down and watch today, and like it just flows and it goes and it sings and the action is engaging, and the dog
Hmm.
fighting doesn't look like shit, and all of it looks cool and is cool to this day, and it's a movie that came out in 1977 is fucking nuts, man. Like that movie's
Absolutely.
incredible.
Hmm. Yeah, I said the same thing when I watched it for the first time. I think leading up to Solo is when me and my friends all watched it for the first time. I can't believe how contemporary that movie feels, despite
Yeah.
being 50, almost 60 years old. Like, it is crazy that it feels that way. And the reason it feels that way is because it got so popular and blew up so much that that was the template that every other movie started to copy. So
Yeah.
the reason it feels contemporary is because everything else is copying from its homework.
Because
And
it was
to
so
some degree, that's
revolutionary at the time.
cool. Exactly. Yeah, to some degree that's cool, but to others degree it's just like, man, it's crazy how this one thing, this one cultural object has held onto us so long that 50 years from now we're still making movies like it. It's cool, but it's also like, damn, new ideas?
Yeah, very true.
Just a little bit. But it's still, I gotta give the props to Star Wars. It's definitely a really cool franchise, but a really incredible first movie.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
definitely have
So
to
I
talk
yeah,
here.
that's one that just kind of blows my mind. Another when we're going down movies, I feel like growing up, um I had a more like kind of like, movie buff era, right? Growing up like as a teenager where it's like, ah
Mhm.
yes, I love film, right? Like I had that era. And shout out to Stanley
I
Kubrick,
feel that.
right? Like Stanley Kubrick movies are excellent, dating back to
The Shining is
Lolita
very good.
in 1962, Doctor Strangelove in 64, 2001 in 68, Clockwork Orange in 71. Never saw Barry Lyndon, but I saw The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, Eyes Wide Shut. All of those are movies that I like thoroughly enjoyed growing up.
You watched Lolita growing up?
Oh yeah,
I,
I'm telling
first
you,
of all,
man.
you were a bold young man.
Oh
I
yeah.
was too afraid. Once I found out what Lolita was, I was like, I'm good off that.
Oh no.
I actually, when I was of the age that you probably were watching all your little devious movies, I was at the age where I was like not knowing about any of this shit. I don't think I knew what Lolita was until like 5 years ago. And then at that point, I was like, okay, I don't ever want to watch or read that or watch that, but I will listen to someone tell me about it in a video. I
Nah,
say
my
that's
cousin
the
and I
most I'll
sat
get.
down and we're like, let's watch this. This sounds sick. I'd like 11.
Wow. Sick is the sick is definitely an appropriate term. Yeah, I was definitely, and honestly, I feel like that fear is what kept me from a lot of movies, like even something like Suspiria, where I'm a little bit of a agoraphobe, so I don't watch a lot of horror movies like that. So Suspiria, me watching that is a big shock, especially when you consider the specific thing that gets me with horror is like if I watch an old horror movie, something about like the grainy footage and it being all, it
It's
just makes it feel
creepy.
more real.
Yeah.
It's way creepy. Like I can't do Texas Chainsaw Massacre because it looks so like just a tape someone found, and that just shocks the shit out of me. So
Yeah.
I can't do it. Um, but I will say, if we're still digging into pretty far beyond crates, The Graduate, the one that I mentioned earlier, that one is really good. It is. It's a similar. It's honestly, if we're talking about Lolita, this fits in that category. The Graduate is about a recent college graduate. So, young man, maybe early 20s, like 21, 22,
Oh,
something
I know
like
what
that.
movie you're talking. I haven't seen this, but I know what movie you're
Ah,
talking about. I just looked it up.
this movie is so messy in a
Yeah.
good way. Like the story, some messy shit is going on in this movie, not the film itself is messy. But like it's basically this young man who gets himself into an affair with a family friend, and it's like older women and that whole thing of like, that power dynamic, and then later on, that family has a daughter who's interested in him, so now it's like, gosh, it's like a whole triangle, it's a whole
Yeah.
thing. And then it just it subverts my expectations despite it being a movie old as dirt. Okay,
I
let me
I
not say
know
old
The
as dirt.
Graduate almost exclusively for the finale, right? The final scene. It's like an
Yeah, that
iconic
final
final
shot.
scene. I feel like The Simpsons made fun of it, and that's like my first touchstone from it. Like I'm pretty sure The Simpsons has like a moment like that with Abe Simpson, but whatever. Abe Lincoln. I almost said
Yeah.
Abe Lincoln just now.
Well, that last scene is very much like I ain't gonna say if is it a famous shot. It's a famous final
Very.
shot.
Yeah, yeah.
Apparently, it was improvised. That's the big deal about it. Where it's like, oh, they just did that. They didn't even know. So yeah, that's a game that I definitely or a game. That's a movie that I watched
The
it in that
gameplay
phrase.
features are really great.
The gameplay of The Graduate. Oh fuck, let me tell you.
Let me,
Press X to
let me tell you about the ray
infidelity.
tracing in The Graduate.
The ray tracing in the crowd. Let me tell you, man, the polygons A1. Um, but no, it just felt like because I'll be honest, you want to talk about you had your scandalous era. My scandalous era was when I was in college and I watched all these movies, all these Best Picture nominees. I also had that phase around the same time where I was like, hey, I'm away from home. No one's gonna stop me. I'm just gonna watch every sex comedy on Netflix. Not even look, that's
Hey,
how innocent I am. I'm not thinking I'm gonna go up and actually look stuff up. I'm just gonna watch movie.
look at this
So
guy.
that's
Rebel.
that. Yeah, look at me. I'm such an idiot. But The Graduate is absolutely something that felt where all those sex comedies are like the whole point is to be titillated. So like when things happen, it's like, okay, of course it's here. It's not super exciting. The Graduate doesn't show much of anything. It is a movie from the 60s after all, but it like suggests a lot. And it's very like it felt very intense when I was watching it, and it felt very scandalous when I was watching it because it's like it's insinuating something that's such a taboo. I mean, of
Yeah.
course, it is a young man, but he's still an adult. She's still, actually, I think she was like in her 50s or something. So it's a pretty wide gap, but it just felt so like, ooh, we shouldn't be doing this. So it's one of those that just feels like, like you're talking gossip to friends or something, like you're being catty or whatever. It's just one of those movies that just feels fun to watch. And I like it a lot. That ending kind of fucks me up a little bit, but I also think it's cool to just end a story like this that way.
It's sick.
So
Yeah. It's
yeah,
a
it's a
sick
very good
ending.
movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Indeed, indeed. But yeah, Lolita, nah, you can keep that.
That was all about
You can
Lolita
keep that.
growing up, man. What can I tell you?
All about Lolita is a
All about
strong
it.
statement.
All about
Oh
it.
boy.
I remember seeing
Um,
the
I
Warriors
will
too. I'm
say,
looking up like 70s movies. I saw the Warriors.
ooh,
Like the Warriors a lot.
mm-hmm. I is the okay. How violent is the Warriors? Because I've been interested in it, but I'm also a little scared.
It's violent, but not like insanely violent. It's not it
It's not like Saw violent.
no, 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 no. You've seen movies
It's
that
just like
violent.
intense scenes. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
In that case, I might be able to do the Warriors, but every time I think about watching it, I read like a plot synopsis. I'm like, man, dudes are dropping like flies.
I've never played
Uh,
the Warriors video game, but like that movie is a video game. It's literally a video. Like
okay.
every time cuz it's like gangs, right? Every time that they
Mm-hmm.
get to a new place is like, "Oh, we found a different gang." There's like this gang that they dress up like they're the
Area
Yankees
unlocked.
and they have baseball bats and that's their thing.
Uh,
And it's literally a video game. You're like, "Oh, it's the same
that's their gimmick.
enemies. They have the same character design. Cool."
I absolutely get that. Yeah, I might enjoy that movie. That might be one where actually me and Gabby are making a whole list of like movies we should watch that we've been like, oh, I want to get around to that. And there's a couple movies on there that are pretty graphic that she's like she has a stomach for, and I'm like, I don't know. I have to watch this with you so I can cling on and close my eyes at certain scenes. Um, Maybe the Warriors is one of those to put on there, so I'll keep that in mind. Looking through other movies we got in here. Because like we got some stuff from the 80s. I feel like the 80s is a very like we're getting more and more contemporary as we go.
Yeah.
Because I only got like one or two movies from the 60s and earlier on. I remember like an Annie Hall, but I feel weird about talking about Annie Hall now because
Yeah. Yeah.
Woody Allen,
I know.
not a great guy apparently.
No,
Um,
pretty bad
but yeah,
guy.
yeah, definitely, definitely. But when we get into the 80s, you got stuff like Stand By Me, I really love. You got stuff like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh yeah.
The Brave Little Toaster is one of my all-time fucking
Okay.
favorites. I love that fucking movie.
Okay.
Have you seen The Brave Little Toaster?
No, I haven't. I know of it, but I've never actually seen it.
I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you all you need to know about this movie. It's actually not that long. It's like maybe an hour and 10 minutes. It's very short. It is literally kid plays with all the appliances at the summer home. They leave the summer home for the summer. All the appliances miss the kid. So they go on an adventure through the woods to go to the kid's actual house. And
Oh shit.
there's many times throughout the movie where like characters get brutally murdered or you think they get brutally murdered.
Nice.
And it's heavily implied. There's really, I think I watched it when I was slightly older. I was slightly too old for it to actually traumatize me, but I was still young enough to be like, fuck,
I'm like, oh my
what was
god.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one scene where like there's a vacuum cleaner, he throws his little cable across the little ravine to cross the waterfall, and they're all balancing on his little cable, and then the plug like snaps and they all fall into the water, and it just goes dead silent for like 12 seconds,
You're like,
and he's just
ooh.
looking over like he just has that I just killed all my friends look, and I'm like, What the fuck?
Nice.
And there's like multiple scenes like that in that movie. So I love that movie because it's so fucked up, but no one ever says anything about it. That's just the tone of the movie. But otherwise, it's like this very classic innocent child movie.
Nice.
It's really weird, but it's great. Um, and so yeah, I got other movies like that. You know, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a classic, of course.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
adore it.
yeah, that one is like it's kind of hard to even say like oh man, it's such a subversive whatever, blah blah blah. Because it was subversive at the time, but it feels cliche to be like, I love that movie because we're never gonna get a movie like that again.
Yeah, no, nope.
Yeah, forget Space Jam and the combination of live action and animation and all that. It's more so like you're never gonna see Daffy Duck and Donald Duck on screen at the same time ever
Yeah,
again,
and also like a
which
sexy lady
sucks.
that seduces people.
Yeah, you're never gonna. That's Bayonetta before Bayonetta. Let me tell
Right.
you.
OG Bayonetta
You want to
over
see
here.
someone, yeah, just way too proportioned. Yeah, that's her. But yeah, really, that's all it is. Once you get past the '80s, then it's like, all right, all the stuff from the '90s, of course, your Home Alones, your Total Recalls, your stuff, Terminator 2s and whatnot, and then now we're in the 2000s, pretty much. This whole page. So
I'll give a
yeah, I got
shout
a
out.
couple
The
classics, but
the
mhm.
interesting thing about TV, right? Like old TV, is that up until the
Mm,
modern age, the point of TV wasn't to like tell really good stories, right? Like TV was just
yeah.
like Monster of the Week, right? Like every week we told a tiny little story and whatever, and we move on. And that's why there's so many like cop shows back in the day, because like it's just
Hmm.
kind of perfect. But the one show that still like I enjoy watching, Jimena and I, for the first like year of our relationship, we would just sit down and watch pretty regularly. Star Trek, and like OG Star Trek. It's a vibe, dude. It's fun.
Okay.
You don't
I
get
respect
anything
that. I respect that.
incredible out of it, but like for that, for like Monster of the Week, like, oh, let's just lay down and chill out for 30 minutes or so. It's great.
Huh. Never would have honestly I never would have expected that. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's a
I just
vibe.
you'd
It's
never
fun.
talk about yeah, I guess it's one of those things where I know so many people who define themselves in part by their love of Star Trek. To hear someone who just casually likes Star Trek, it's
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I didn't know casual fans
I'm very
existed.
much so a
Um,
casual Star Trek fan. I'm like, I fuck with Star Trek. I've dabbled. I've dabbled.
Wow, I respect the hell out of that. But yeah, when it comes to TV, it's really hard for me to be like, oh, I love this TV show because I think when you're talking about, oh yeah, it is Monster of the Week, it's harder to be like, oh man, because Monster of the Week is snack food. It is empty calories. It's
Yeah.
good when you're eating it, but you're not really thinking about it much after the fact. We have TV shows now,
Oh
like
yeah.
your Fargos, your Last of Us's, your Chernobyls. We have meals now
Oh yeah.
that yeah, you're coming back for another course of the main dish rather than here's another snack pack. I have plenty of favorites like that, but when it comes to TV, I don't think there's a single show before the year 2000 that I could be like, oh man, I love that shit. Like, of course, Fresh Prince is great. I love Fresh Prince, but that feels once again that's a snack pack. There's nothing really substantial that I can really gnaw on from way back in the day and be like, oh, I love it. But
I'll say I
I don't
really love
know.
Seinfeld. That kind of comes from my dad. My dad is like a huge Seinfeld fan, and growing up, he would tape Seinfeld all the time, and sometimes we'd watch it together, or I would be like falling asleep on him, and he'd be watching Seinfeld. And it wasn't until I was older that I realized, like, huh. You know how like when you were young, you were like, I've literally seen every single SpongeBob episode ever multiple times, right? Like you just know that
Yep,
you've seen every fucking episode. I realized
indeed.
that with Seinfeld, at some point, because I was going, I decided to sit down and like rewatch it. I think when it went to Netflix, or maybe when it was on Hulu or something. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna sit down
Mhm.
and watch Seinfeld. And it wasn't until I got to like season 3 that I'm like, I've seen every episode of Seinfeld. I just didn't know because never sat down and saw them in order. But over the years, I just
Mhm.
saw every single episode.
Yeah. You know what? Now I think about it, the shows that I have like that weren't Seinfeld. Weird enough, I watched so much Matlock because of my mom. Matlock was one of her comfort shows.
Matlock is on in this house all the time. Jimena's mom is like the biggest. She watches Little House on the
Dude,
Prairie like fucking 20 hours a
Yep.
day, bro. That shit is on all the time. It's Matlock, it's Little House on the Prairie, it's the Waltons.
Good lord.
This is
I
her
don't even know what the Waltons
jam.
is. Holy shit.
Oh, dude,
Oh
this
fuck.
she's in her Duffy putting that shit on. There's channels that show that all day, and she's watching that shit all day. So I get it.
The Waltons. How many seasons of the Wal? There were 9 seasons of the Waltons, a
And
show I've never heard of.
each season has like 50 episodes, dude. It's nuts. It's fucking nuts.
Fucking hell. There's no way.
The one
Season 1, 25 episodes.
the one possible connection you might have to the Waltons, because this is what I had, because again, pop culture, probably The Simpsons or something like that made fun of it at some point. They're the ones who end every episode. They're all like laying down and they go like, "Good night, Johnny. Good night, whatever," and like it goes through the whole house. That's the Waltons.
Oh my god, yeah.
So that's
That's
how I knew it.
crazy.
That's the only thing
It's
I
this
knew it
massive
for.
family. It's like just slightly more country Brady Bunch.
Yeah,
That's what it looks like.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Good lord, I am blown away. And yeah, I looked it up. I'm actually speaking of Letterbox, I'm on Serialized, the TV show version of
Nice.
Letterbox, and I looked it up, and sure enough, there's fucking they had 9 different specials. Good lord, oh
TV
man,
was
but yeah,
wild,
I guess
dude.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matlock, a lot of Matlock was on. In the Heat of the Night is another show that my mom would just always have on,
Ooh.
one of those old school shows. And yeah, it just kept going. I think, what was it? I became a fan because it was just on all the time. I became a fan of Criminal Minds from my parents watching it all the time. I think America's Next Top Model, I watched like 3 seasons of that. As a kid.
Yeah.
So like I know about everyone who won and everything that happened. I was in it for a little while.
I would watch
And then also
novelas with
yeah.
my mom. Like it was not like just because
Yeah.
I'm a kid and I want to hang out with my mom and she's watching all these novelas and I like couldn't care less about whatever's happening. But I'm like, okay, I guess I'm watching this entire show with you.
Exactly.
And
I feel the
novelas,
exact same way.
the thing about
Mhm.
novelas that like I need people to understand, because if you didn't grow up with these are shows that are an hour long. They're on Monday through Friday
Oh yeah.
for like 2 years at a time. It's a soap opera,
Constantly.
right? Like it's the same thing. It's like every day, every weekday for years, telling one story. It's wild.
It is wild. And you know what? I used to shit on my dad all the time because for several years he used to watch soap operas as well because he just had free time in the middle of the day often. I for years was like, man, why are you watching this corny shit? Like it's clearly like they're doing these things in the most dramatic way possible. The acting's over the top, blah 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 blah. Mario, I was at home one day and the soap opera was just on. I think it was Christmas Day, and I was just like watching it, and I'm like, fine, I'm just gonna watch this soap opera. Why was I crying at the end when this
I get
woman
it,
gave?
man.
It was literally the most cliche. Oh, we're all here for Christmas dinner. Oh, we're all snowed in. Oh, there's this woman who just got back from like the Christmas reenactment play or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, she played the part of Mary. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, wait, you're actually pregnant? Oh, fuck. Oh, wait, your water's breaking now? Oh, fuck. Hey, friend that we have a emotional relationship right now, but you're a nurse. Can you get over here right now? And she gets on a motorcycle and comes to deliver the baby. Why was I like dropping tears
You're
to
like,
the most
"Oh."
cliche story of
I
all
gotta
time?
tell you,
God damn
modern
it.
day soap operas are fucking nuts, dude. Like one day at work, because the same animal hospital He-Man and I work at, she's a receptionist. She was changing the channels because the news was on, and she didn't want to have the news on because who wants to see the news all day? And she bumped, and I think it was
Yeah,
like Days of
for
Our
real.
Lives and something. And in the same episode, because I came back and forth, a woman was possessed. There were aliens. I'm like, what? What?
No.
I
What the
swear to
fuck?
you, this woman was possessed. And it was a soap opera, and she's like fucking on the wall, like, "Ah, ah, 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 ah," and I'm like, what is this?
God.
And then there was an
Infidelity's not
alien
enough,
that
man. We
showed
gotta go
up.
deeper.
Wild.
Imagine the Graduate reboot we're gonna get one day. The
Can't wait.
remake.
Can't
Oh,
wait.
what what's that under your leg, Mrs. Johnson? It's a tentacle comes out.
Bitch, God. Choke him out.
Oh my lord. Absolutely. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. So yeah, old is good. That's the point I want this whole
Oh yeah.
conversation to be around.
Oh yeah.
I want because I make the mistake of always trying to see what's new, what's the best thing, what's the thing
Nah,
that's popping, what's the
there's some
conversation about.
good old stuff.
Absolutely. There's value in going into the past to see why the things you like now, see its origins. And also, people have been making stories, people have been making games, people have been having good ideas since the beginning of time. Why are you only consuming the ideas from the last 20 years?
100%. Yeah.
So,
I'll end it with this point that is something that I think I brought up here. I don't remember if I did. But him and I went to see Oppenheimer. We saw it on IMAX.
ah, hell yeah.
It was
Good
awesome.
movie.
It was incredible. And we saw it in the only IMAX, like true IMAX 7 millimeter theater in Florida. There's one.
Different me too. Yeah. How long
Single
did it was there
one.
like a massive line?
Yes, we saw it. We were, the meme of the guy being at the bottom of the fucking thing like this? That was us because we were in
Absolutely,
the
yeah.
front row because it wasn't
that was me at Barbie.
it wasn't assigned seats and it was right after school. Anyway, we saw that movie and maybe it's because we saw it on 70 millimeter film, but it really felt like it was a movie that could have been made years ago. It felt like an old movie in many ways and like a modern movie in many ways in the cinematography. But also, there was something about it, and I don't know if it was the graininess of the film, but there was something about it that I'm like, this movie could have been made in the 60s or 70s, and the dialogue would sound, it sounded like an old movie because it was also about old material, right? So it kind of
Sure.
fit that beautifully, and it reminded me of, and especially with its length, of two movies that I've been trying to get him in to watch, and my dad showed me when I was young.
Mm.
The Godfather and The Godfather 2. Those are two that I couldn't have not mentioned.
Oh,
Godfather 2 is 3
I
hours and
respect that.
22 minutes, and it's incredible.
You're
Did you
gonna
know,
hate
Emmett?
me.
Did you know, Emmett, that my dad has
Yeah.
always vowed that he's going to watch it one day because he adores The Godfather 1 and 2, and we don't talk about 3. Did you know that there is a thing called the Godfather Epic that is a full release, not like a where Godfather 1 and Godfather 2 are edited together to be chronological, and it's like a 7+ hour movie.
Oh hell.
And that's a
That
thing,
sounds painful.
and it's one movie that's like 7 hours.
That's a shift.
Yes.
That's a shift of movie.
Dude, yes.
God damn it.
Mhm.
Holy shit. Look, here's why you're gonna hate me. I watched The Godfather and I was like, this is whatever.
How long ago did you watch it? It's relatively recently.
During that time where I was like,
Okay.
I'm gonna watch every Best
Fair.
Picture winner.
Fair enough. I haven't seen them in forever, but I remember loving them.
I just remember being like, all right, I kept waiting for like, all right, I need to see the reason that people love this movie. And it's not the type of movie to have like, oh shit, when this happens, holy fuck. It's just a bunch of like, it's slowly creeping.
It's a slow burn.
By the end of it, you're like, oh shit, everything's happened.
Yeah.
I will say I got like an hour into Godfather Part 2 and it seemed a little bit more interesting, but I just never came back because the first one just deflated me.
Part 2 is
One of
great.
these days, I'm gonna give it another shot.
Part 2.
I'm gonna give it another shot one day.
Part 2 is probably better than
Yeah.
the first one. If I think about it hard enough, probably better.
Mm-hmm. See, I've heard that, and because of that, it makes me want to actually give it a shot. But I think I'm gonna watch both again. I think I'm starting from the top
Best
because I
sequels
gave
all time.
Godfather 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm gonna. What was it? I gave Godfather 1 3 out of 5 stars on
Wow.
Letterboxd, which is what I felt
Wow.
about it. Which isn't to say it's like horrible. It's like it's slightly better than average, but I just can't see anything more than that because my expectations were
Yeah.
not properly set.
Godfather
But,
Part 2,
yeah.
I put in the same camp of like sequels that just upped it from the previous one. I put it up there with like Empire Strikes Back and like Terminator 2 and
Terminator
fucking
2.
Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, even though it's not the second one, it's the third one, but it's definitely the best one, right?
Maybe we'll do a hot takes episode because I got some Lord of the Rings shit to talk, but I think we're
Oh,
already
okay. We'll leave that.
we're already at
Jimena
the
and
end of
I
the
are
line.
planning a watch through of Lord of the Rings. So let's make that
Ooh.
happen.
All
Let's
right.
make that
All
happen.
right, yeah. That'll be in the future one day for
Sick,
sure.
sick. Any parting
Oh
words
my
for the
god.
lovely folks at home, Emmett?
As far as me, y'all know what's up. Later this week, you should be getting a new Welcome to the Thing episode, so look out for that. TL Foster and Jared Green, great conversation on there. Um, also, Players Club podcast that's going to be coming up this week. I think I'm going to put out 2 episodes because I missed it last week. So I'm going to put out. I have one recorded and then another one we just recorded.
What a
So you'll get
grinder,
those
man.
more or less back to back. Yeah, I gotta make it up. But honestly, I am very excited. I gotta stop saying this on my shows because I don't want her to get the wrong idea. I've said this multiple times now where I'm like, oh man, Gabby's going to Europe and I get to just be home for 3 weeks and I don't have to spend any money because I'm gonna be at home all the time and I'm gonna catch up on video games and whatnot.
But we
But
love
like,
you, Gabby.
I'm
You're
gonna
great. We will miss
yeah.
you very
Oh yeah, I
much.
love you dearly. You're the love of my life, but also I'm about to play the fuck out of some video games.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm about to catch up on a
I
lot of
made
stuff
the
in my life.
mistake not too long
Um,
ago. Jimena went away for like 5 days or so to go visit her sister a few months ago. And I made the mistake of
mhm.
like, she was like, "Are you gonna miss me?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna enjoy my time alone." And she's never let that go. So I hear you,
Look,
man.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. I talk all this shit now. Like halfway through that second week of her 3 week
Oh
trip,
my
I'm gonna
god!
be like, damn.
2 days in, I was like, I miss her so much.
Absolutely. I know it's
Yeah,
coming. When is it
100%.
coming? I won't know until it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's coming. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So look forward to that. I'm gonna be playing video
Sounds
games.
good. Next time we record, I'm gonna be uh very deep into Starfield, hopefully.
And next time we record, I will probably just be touching it for the first time.
Nice.
Yeah. I'll have that whole weekend before free. Oh shit. Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of time with this. It's gonna be fun.
Nice. I was gonna say just hand stuff for you, but I guess not. You're gonna move on.
Oh no, I'm gonna catch up on a lot of stuff from this year. I got On
Okay.
Guard. I want to pick that up. One of my favorite indie games I've been looking forward to. Dead Space, Forspoken. I got a bunch
Mhm.
of shit to play. I got plenty of time for it too. So look
Sick,
forward to it.
sick. I'm excited for next episode. I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about. In the meantime, you let us know your favorite old media and if you're excited for Starfield. And yeah, pretty much about it. We'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.